So, folks, there is a man named Representative Bryan Steil. He is from Wisconsin, and his district had a little empty suit town hall to make fun of him and mock him for not doing town halls. Here he is in empty suit form at this town hall with a bunch of people from Wisconsin here who were ready to air their grievances. Now, this was 4 months ago. And despite the fact that the GOP has, for the most part, decided that they're just going to run away from their constituents forever and never give them another town hall, Bryan Steil decided to have a listening session yesterday. And it didn't go particularly well. And we're going to watch it because I managed to track down one of the only videos of the entire thing. And let's check it out, folks.
One of the things that I think we need to do as a federal government is really focus
turn this up.
on making things more affordable for families. So many families can't afford the things that they need. Post-pandemic, through the end of the Biden administration, we saw a significant uptick in overall spending. The way that we bring the inflationary environment down is, I think, three key things listed there. We need to have very pro-growth tax policies. That was part of the reforms that were just signed. We're seeing some progress on that. If you filled up your car with gas recently, we're seeing car prices come down. And then we have to address the broader federal spending standpoint and the challenges that we're seeing. Protecting Social Security.
Could we have a quiet auditorium, please, so that people that do want to hear can hear? You all have questions in here that we'll get to.
Tell the truth now. Tell the truth.
So as we get into how we protect Social Security and Medicare, which should be front and center for everyone, it's front and center for me. What we need to do is
front and center for you.
The broader spending challenges that we see. So as we go back to those initial slides,
I wonder if there's a better sound quality. Let me take a look here. Thanks, Lou Ann Bird. Thanks for getting us.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you. That's good. That's exactly what the state of Wisconsin is all about. I want to start this right off on time, and I want to spend about 15 minutes kind of walking through some top-line issues, and then give an hour for questions in the room. I'm going to introduce Tim Bremmel. I'm going to introduce Tim Bremmel in a second, who's going to coordinate the hour-long Q&A session, and I'll come back before.
Do you need a ladder chat?
15 minutes, just kind of an overview of where we're at on this country to get ourselves back on track. But if you're like me, you believe. If you're like me, all right, we're gonna give you two ground rules. If you're like me, you believe that we live in the greatest country in the world, and we have an opportunity.
No, you've got me turned down. Okay.
And we have an opportunity to have conversations and discussions. All right. We got people on all sides. That's great. That's great. We're going to have this conversation today, but what we're going to do best is having one at a time if we can do it. So I think we live in the greatest country in the world, and so if you would join me to begin this program, I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our flag is to the left. You can join up.
God, what a performative fuck. Like, every single time these ghouls are like, now, we could all agree to suck America's dick, right? Let's get down to it. As sloppy as you can.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay, damn, calm down, people. they're fucking angry. That was some like 28 days later zombie shit.
Pass it over to Tim Bremmel just to lay out the rules of the road when we get to the Q&A. Tim?
Good evening, everybody.
Well, wait, this is something Americans do? This is something American children do. American adults never have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Like in schools, some schools have you start out the day by doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but like, it's really weird and cringe even in that context.
Thank you for attending. Thank you for being interested in the future of our country and expressing your views to the Congressman this evening. The evening as laid out will feature questions from you after a brief presentation from the Congressman. As you came into the building, you should have filled out a form that indicated your willingness and desire to speak this evening. And those will be brought up to me momentarily, and we'll be just selecting names at random. So we don't know who's going first, we don't know who's going second, but it's the fairest way to do it here.
Nope.
It's not. Well, good. Then we'll do it the unfair way. But either way, that's how we're doing it. We would ask you when I call your name, I'm actually going to call two names at a time so we can keep things moving. Initially I'll call who's up for the first question and then who will be on deck. We would ask only those two people to enter the aisles and come to the staffers with the microphones. Otherwise, please keep the aisles clear so that people can get up and down and we can get to as many questions as possible. Again, you're all here as Americans. Respect each other as Americans. We want a productive conversation, not a shouting match. The beautiful thing in this country is we can agree to disagree. And many of us will leave here not agreeing.
This man better have come wearing a diaper because he's about to get a new one ripped in his ass.
But that's okay.
Used to be that way.
So we will proceed with Congressman Steil's opening remarks, and we will get the questions ready to go and hopefully have a great evening of information here this evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks again for being here. I just want to stage set because I think this is helpful to understand where we're spending money in the federal government. And so this is last year's numbers as reported. And so the side of the left, that's where our money is coming from. That's the inbound. Those are your taxes. The biggest bucket on the left is individual income taxes, hanging out at about 50% of all federal government revenue at 50%. Social Security and Medicare taxes, we're going to get into the difference between Medicare and Medicaid in a second, is 1.7 trillion, 35%. And then you have a bucket of other items where we're picking up taxes, corporate taxes, excise tax, etc. On the spending side, which is $1.8 billion more than we're bringing in, I think it's important to kind of think through where our funds are going. And so the biggest bucket is the blue on the bottom left. We're spending about $1.4 to $1.5 trillion per year on Social Security. Medicaid, which I know we'll have some conversations about tonight.
God, this smug fuck. I know we'll have some conversations about Medicaid. Oh yeah? You killing your own constituents? I bet you're going to have some conversations about that.
Medicaid and health programs, bucketing those together, is about $900 billion. Medicare, obviously different than Medicaid, we'll get back into that, $800 billion. National defense, a little over $800 billion. Welfare programs, a little over $600 billion. And then interest on the debt, which is a growing challenge that we face, is a little over $800 billion as well. I think that helps stage set.
You know, I know it's probably not the case, but I really like the idea that this guy is doodling like a hamburger or something over there and not actually taking notes. It looks like he has like a little doodle right there.
When we think about the spending situation that we're in, we're bringing in about $1.8 trillion fewer than we are on the we're spending $1.8 trillion more than we are on the revenue side. So we'll come back to
Wait, what did she say?
We're spending $1.8 trillion more than we are.
Hell yeah, like this is what I mean, guys. This is why I tell you guys to go to your local Democratic meetings. Because it's full of people like this lady who's just like, why can't we get those billionaires to pay, guys? Let's get them to pay for it. Because, like, you can work with that, folks. These people are not your enemies. Yeah, look, you just need to make an alliance with the Sharons out there, okay? You know, make an alliance with the Sharons of your local Democratic Party.
On the revenue side. So
radicalize the wine moms.
One of the things that I think we need
And through them, the wine dads.
to do as the federal government is really focus in on making things more affordable for families. So many families can't afford the things that they need. And what we have seen, and what we have seen is a dramatic uptick in inflation post-pandemic, through the end of the Biden administration, where we saw a significant uptick in overall spending. The way that we bring the inflationary environment down is, I think, three.
The Sharons are the wine moms.
Key things listed there. We need to have very pro-growth tax policies. That was part of the reforms that were just signed into law. We need to have energy policies that unleash American energy rather than restrict it. We're seeing some progress on that. If you filled up your car with gas recently, we've seen car prices coming down. And then we have to address the.
I'm sorry. I live adjacent to Wisconsin. We're not seeing the cost of gasoline go down.
Broader federal spending standpoint and the challenges that we've seen over the past number of years. Protecting Social Security.
Could we have it quiet in the auditorium, please, so that people that do want to hear
No,
can hear.
fuck you.
You all have questions in here that we'll get to after the presentation, please. Thank you.
Tell the truth.
As we get into how we protect Social Security and Medicare, which should be front and center for everyone, front and center for me.
All right. Oh, come on. Grandmother's a shame. You voted against it.
Challenges that we see. So as we go back to those initial slides and just think about how we're falling $1.8 trillion in debt further and further behind, we need to be looking at the broader spending picture.
We're getting more and more in debt, which is why we needed to add more debt to the U.S. economy, you see. We needed to add more debt to fix the debt.
Make sure that we're protecting Social Security and Medicare. Looking forward to the conversation and questions on that as well. There's a lot of questions, a lot of misinformation as a result of the changes on Medicaid and SNAP benefits. So as we know in the state of Wisconsin has had.
Oh my God. It's a picture of him shaking hands with a disabled person who is almost certainly going to be fucked over by Medicaid and SNAP changes. Fuck, this man is evil.
SNAP benefits for quite some has had work requirements tied to SNAP benefits for quite some time. Sometimes people use the term food stamps, which was the old name for the acronym SNAP. And so we've had work requirements since the 1990s when Tommy Thompson was governor. That was at that time a bipartisan approach. A lot of the reforms that were made as it relates to work requirements in many ways mirror the reforms that Wisconsin made in the 1990s, taking those nationally and then applying them to Medicaid.
Yeah, the issue is that if you're on Medicaid, you can't work. If you need to use that Medicaid, you can't work. God.
Medicaid program, which picks up very low-income individuals, but also in particular picks up children, picks up pregnant women and disabled adults. For those three categories,
and we needed to kick some of them off of this coverage.
There's no changes in the legislation. That's where a lot of the misinformation that's out there is. So it's important to know that there's no changes there for you. I don't believe you. That's why it's really important that we have this conversation, sir. So I know there's a lot of misinformation out, so we're trying to get some information out for you. As it relates to the work requirements, this is a program that Wisconsin will ultimately administer, and I'm of the belief that as Wisconsin has done a reasonably good job inside the SNAP program over the past 20 plus years, we have an opportunity to make those changes and reforms to help the demographic.
Sure, look, guys, I may have passed the bullshit sandwich, but I have faith in the state government to make that bullshit sandwich a little bit more palatable. Maybe we'll add like a slice of salami on top of the shit.
A group of able-bodied, childless adults of working age is
that group of people is so vanishingly low, and the requirements that you added kick off so many more people than what are in that group.
One of the biggest improvements that we have seen is the success of securing the U.S.
You know what's interesting to me? These people act These GOP elected officials act like they are acting on behalf of their communities, but the conservatives never seem to show up at their town halls. That's so interesting, right? So interesting that they make these broad appeals to like, well, I'm tough on immigration because my constituents like it. Weird that the ones who don't like immigration don't seem to show up to these.
We got to get through this part. So the longer you take, the fewer questions we'll have.
So we got some people that are. All right, everybody. I know there's some people that got different views in the room. That's okay. We just keep it all between everybody here. I think that'll be good. And so I think based on that, plus some people like the secure border, like I do. Some people don't. That's fine. You can have your own
based on that. I don't think anyone in that room liked that
opinion. But I think it's important to recognize the dramatic drop and decrease that we have seen in border apprehensions as shown by the federal government data. Making sure that we're protecting and supporting. There's some gentlemen that can't hear up in the front, so if we can just keep it down a little bit so people can hear, that's going to be helpful. And making sure that we're supporting, making sure that we're supporting. We're working and supporting our veterans is absolutely an essential piece of this. I look forward to some of the questions on that. One thing I want you to know is that a lot of people sometimes have challenges with the federal government. Come to my office. I like to be a resource to you in assisting getting people out with information. We're always here. We got offices around the area. We've been very successful in this. We've helped well over 1,000 people in the past time. And so
wow, over 1,000 people. That's like 0.0001% of your constituents.
What I want you to know is that as you have challenges with the federal government, reach out, come to me. We're here to help you navigate through the red tape. And so with that, what I'd like to do is begin with our questions. We're going to pass it over to Tim. The more civil we are to each other, I know there's people with different views in here. We heard it on the applause and boo.
I want someone to call him a fascist fuck to his face so badly.
Border security issue, we've heard it a couple times. We got people on all sides. It's great. That's what makes Wisconsin great. And so what we have an opportunity to do, though, is to not engage with each other. Just ask me any question you want. I'll answer it briefly. We'll get to the next question. The less we allow everybody here to kind of dialogue back and forth between ourselves, you can go afterwards, go out, grab a beer, grab a cup of coffee. You can talk politics all day you like. But here I want to be able to answer people's questions. I know we got people on both sides of it. So let's dive into the questions. Let's see how far we can go.
All right, let's pick the first two randomly out of the box. Up first, we have Tammy Brown from Janesville, followed by, I believe it's Tom Burke, is that right, from Elkhorn?
Hi, Brian. Tammy Brown from Janesville, Wisconsin. I am a breast cancer survivor. Cuts to cancer research and prevention programs mean fewer clinical trials, fewer grants to discover new treatment options, and less access to life-saving early detection services. What will you do to ensure that proposed cuts by the administration to vital cancer research and prevention programs are rejected when Congress begins negotiating fiscal year 2026 funding? And how will you protect vital funding for cancer research and prevention programs in fiscal year 2026?
Let's go, Tammy. Let's go, Tammy.
It's a great question. Some of the research that our federal government has done, in particular is cancer, and it's impacted your life, it's impacted my family's life as well, and I think it's probably impacted almost everybody here in this audience today. Making sure, I just want to make sure everybody can hear, so let's get through it.
Look, I think it's just really important that we fuck all of us over, including my family, and give the money that we save to the richest people in the country. I think that will do more good than spending it on additional cancer research.
So that's where the misinformation is really important here, because where we're currently operating on is the previous fiscal year's cuts, and your question correctly identifies that. So the spending program that we're under right now was approved and signed into law by President Biden. We're engaged in the dialogue. I just want to make sure everybody can hear. So the current spending program that the federal government's operating under was
true, by the way.
Legislation was signed into law ultimately by President Biden.
Which is generally the case, and that is why the rescission process that has been going on this year to claw money back is such a big deal, because it's essentially taking money that was allocated last year for different things, including the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and taking the rest of that money back. They took like $1.1 billion back from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and that's why it's now ultimately shutting down. But what he's saying about the budget for this year having been passed last year, that's true. That's why the budget that was passed earlier this year was the budget for 2026. And that's why she asked about the budget in 2026.
You noted correctly, we're negotiating what the spending looks like going forward. I've been a strong proponent of making sure that we maintain research, in particular in the cancer space at NIH, National Institute of Health, that oversees much of this. Department of Defense does some as well. We'll make sure that that funding continues robustly to make sure that people like you, but many other.
Also, he is lying. He's not going to do anything to ensure cancer research is funded next year.
People receive the benefit of that cancer research going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Tom Burke, are you there? Yes, you are. And on deck, we should have Paul Christopherson.
My main concern is the tariffs that are coming up.
Dog, when you've lost a man with a mullet like that wearing a veteran's hat in this particular area of Wisconsin, your conservative ass is toast. You're I'm honestly kind of shocked, right? Like, damn. Even this guy's going, I don't know about that. These tariffs, though, they're pretty bad.
I was always under the impression that Congress was responsible for issuing the tariffs.
And he is correct. Congress, under normal circumstances, issues tariffs. They are the ones that declare tariffs. However, under emergency circumstances, the president has the power to put those tariffs into play, and Congress has abdicated its duty, including this congressional figure here, to actually just screw over everybody. That's essentially their policy.
I really feel that this is a terrible tax that's going to be placed upon the citizens of the United States.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Why is it that this man in rural goddamn Wisconsin understands the dynamic and articulates this dynamic better than almost anyone in mainstream media? Mainstream media talks about the 15% tariffs like they're nothing, like they're bargaining pieces, like they're not a regressive tax on every single American for bullshit reasons, and we are getting nothing in return for that. Wake up, mainstream media. Wake up, Democrats. This is what is in the wind.
I would like to know what dire economic circumstances put Trump in a position of throwing tariffs on over 190 countries. Yes. You have allowed him to do that. Yes. And it's sad, quite frankly. So tell me the dire circumstances that triggered his tariff wars. Thank you.
Very good.
Kash Patel came to New Zealand the other day and to set up an FBI office. Our conservative agreed. The next day we got a 15% tariff from Trump. Facepalm. It's ridiculous. No country, no government official elsewhere on earth should concede to a single damn thing Donald Trump comes knocking for.
Tom, you got a veteran's hat, so out of the gates, I just want to say thank you for your service to our country. As we look at the broader tariff back and forth that's going on with the administration, this really, at its core, needs to be an opportunity to make sure that other countries are treating the United States fairly. The United States. I'm not looking. I want to be able to get through as many of your questions as we can in the time allotted.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will never.
God, look at his he's getting the Ted Cruz frown. I hope by the end of this he cries. God, I hope he cries. We're only 15 minutes in.
Get questions if we can't keep the auditorium quiet. And please do the person who asked the question the respect of allowing his question to be answered.
We want to know about executive overreach. Tell us what you're going to do about it.
So as it relates to the tariffs, my broad view here is that what we need to do is make sure that we're having other countries treat the United States fairly. China has been an egregious abuser of U.S. trade policies over multiple administrations. And so actually putting pressure on our allies...
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Get that?
China is filling in where the United States.
The Pengians have resisted. There are no longer any penguin exports to the USA.
The Pengians. Thank you for the $5 dono, Salmon Moose. Also, just a reminder, folks, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And also consider dropping those subs, donos, memberships, super chats, etc. Hit the goddamn buttons, folks. Always appreciated.
States is backing off.
Yes.
Yep.
So
We have a question on the floor, folks, that I would assume that our guest would like to hear the answer to, or he wouldn't have asked the question.
So how do we get other countries to treat the United States fairly? So our farmers can export, so our workers can export. And so what I am of the belief is that what we need to do is work with our allies, put trade agreements in place. We've seen great success with this so far, and then ultimately work collectively with our allies to address the real culprit, which is China, which will be to the benefit of American workers and American farmers. I think we're
God, this guy
making progress in this
sucks.
regard, and I think we have room to grow.
Let me ask the gentleman who asked the question. Do you feel that was adequately answered?
Yes.
I didn't ask anybody else. I asked the gentleman who asked the question. Let's be kind to this gentleman, please.
The answer is no, you haven't answered.
Give me a chance to clarify, please.
When we talk about our allies, it seems we're alienating beyond belief.
I love whoever that really loud guy is. Who's like, yes! Yes! Because, like, fuck yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, the fact that this guy is just like, nah, you're full of bullshit is wonderful.
I have family in Canada. I have several friends in Canada, and I can't believe what we're not negotiating with them. But please explain to me what the dire emergency was
Yes.
that existed. And until I get that answer, I am going to be totally opposed to these tariffs. Period.
Yes.
So, Bryan, so Congressman, we have a more pointed question, I guess, which is, we went along for 4 years of Trump, who did a little trade policy in his first 4 years. Then we went to Biden. Then we went to Biden, who was relatively quiet, not a lot of action on that front. And all of a suddenly, I think what this gentleman is saying, all of a sudden, on April 1st, Trump says, boom, tariffs on everybody, and it's freaking us out. And we want to know what the answer to that is.
It's a good question, right? Because
It's not freaking us all out. It's pointing out that the act of putting the tariffs in place is utter bullshit.
I think part of this is what gives Trump the authority to put in place the tariffs. So the authority that he's operating under is as it relates to the imbalance of trade. He made that.
I know it's probably going to result in the police state to like overreact, but we really do need to bring back the trend of bringing like rotten tomatoes to events like this. Like, this man should be getting pelted with Rotten Tomatoes at this point, right? Like, in a just society.
Made this clearly. There's a court case that's going on right now where there'll be more clarity provided on this. That's the authority that he's operating in.
All right. Next question. We will get to as many of your questions as we can, but we can't have them shouted from the floor, or I'm not sure it's possible to devolve into more chaos. But we'll keep some order here. Paul Christofferson, thank you for signing in. You are next.
Can I hold it? Okay.
And on deck would be Gene Henderson.
Congressman Steil. Congressman Steil, are you going to run for governor for the state of Wisconsin?
Wait, his name is Steil, but Steele is right there. Why would you pronounce it that way? I hate that.
It's hard to hear. I said, no, I'm going to be running for re-election to the House.
Could I make a statement? This is a listening session, and I came here with the understanding that maybe you could listen to me just for a question, just for a statement. This is my opinion. I've been a resident of Walworth County for 13 years.
Is this guy okay? He doesn't seem okay.
And I have to tell you, I am so disappointed. I am so disappointed in how you represent us as the citizens.
God, I did not know if this man was going to stick the landing. I didn't know if this guy was going to stick the landing. But man, he did. I'm not mad. I'm just so disappointed. Just the way he was talking, he's talking in kind of like a stilted way, and I was like, is everything all right? I think he's all right.
Southeast Wisconsin has not been represented by you. President Trump seems to run Southeast Wisconsin. All I have to ask is I will be out there working hard if you choose to run for any office.
See, that guy goes to meetings. Work with this guy. He's going out there knocking on doors. I don't care. I don't care that there's an entire room of people talking about how I'm a disappointment, and I don't care. I'm cool. It's fine.
Gene Henderson.
Thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
I have tried many times to get an answer to this question. And I did go to what was to be the listening sessions at the Elkhorn Library, and I heard some very pleasant, polite young men tell me this will be shared with with our representative. And I asked this question. It was never answered. But this was what I want to know.
Sure.
Why? I wear a pin. The pin says, it's not politics, it's morality. As a Christian, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a teacher, as a community member giving many hours of service, I care about people. And what I see happening to our immigrant population embarrasses me, horrifies me. You have not raised a voice to complain about it. Where do I see your leadership? I see no leadership. I see following Trump 100% of the time, and Trump's lead has
We disagree to disagree.
Trump's lead has been horrible, hurting up people who were doing the right thing by going to the immigration office and using that as a trap to entrap them. And most all of these people have been are undocumented. They wanted a better life for themselves, and they got caught in
So what is your question, ma'am?
Why is this happening, and why aren't you stopping it? And my specific question is, why are they wearing masks, and why are they unidentified?
We'll probably agree to disagree on some of my answer here. But what I view is the moral hazard created by the Biden administration by allowing the It's completely fine that we disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing on the topic. President Biden had a different view than I did on the importance of securing the U.S.-Mexico border. But as millions of illegal immigrants came into the United States and there was a lack of action by the federal government, you're now seeing that action take place with the removal particularly of individuals who are in the country illegally, who have engaged in crimes, and other people who are also being removed. I think we need to secure the U.S.-Mexico border. You may not. It's fine that we disagree. But good question. So I'm supportive.
Would you guys just rather the congressman go to lunch and you get a shout for the next 45 minutes?
No.
I'm okay with that.
Why don't you stop? You stop.
Oh, what a wonderful guy. There's our boy. There's our yes man. Our yes man.
No.
I'm okay with that.
Why don't you stop? You stop.
Why don't you get out of here, sir? You're being very obnoxious and very
Get out of here. This is the kind of energy we need. We need so much more of that guy's energy. This specific guy's energy. All right? Yeah, give these wonderful people torches and pitchforks. It's time.
Respectful to everybody else in the category.
Why don't you read?
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
The question. Just read the question.
Next up, we have Kimberly. And Kimberly, I apologize. Is it Schliff, perhaps, from Delavan on Town Line Road? Kimberly? How could you possibly tell over your yelling if he answered anything? Okay, I know the congressman tried to answer this question, and in the fervor that was here, it didn't happen. We'll try one more time to get you the answer if everyone will listen to the answer. Like it or you don't have to like it.
Let's engage in a little bit more of a productive dialogue. Go ahead.
Do you think it's right that unmasked people can masked people, unidentified, can swoop in to people who are undocumented but not necessarily illegal? In fact, statistics show again and again the people being deported and are now sent God knows where.
You've kind of asked a yes or no question without lecturing your congressman. Right along on the masking of ICE agents.
Do you think this
is
disagree. Right?
I think our federal agents should be enforcing the law. We just disagree on the point. It's okay.
I'm going to completely ignore the question about masks and just say that yeah, I think it's fine that they follow the law. I'm gonna ignore the context of the question though. God.
Would you like to disagree?
Are you okay with the ICE agents currently being masked, or would you rather see them unmasked?
The challenge that the men and women of law enforcement are facing in this scenario is aggressive doxing and other challenges. And so we would all be better served if we had a much more civil dialogue and civil discourse. It's one of the challenges we're facing in the room tonight. But what I believe is our federal law enforcement officers need to be empowered to enforce the law. And so I'm supportive of our federal law enforcement officers. We just disagree.
All right. Kimberly, if you would take the microphone, and ladies and gentlemen, if you do the respect of listening to Kimberly's question, thank you.
I don't have so much of a yeah.
I think her mic may be
the
out.
microphone to her mouth so she can be heard.
Shout into that mic, Kimberly.
I don't think you
This is your first rodeo?
you're the right fit for us anymore. You just don't relate to most of us anymore, and you got to know when to step down.
Yes.
I think it's
Fuck. Hell yeah, lady. I just don't think that you represent us anymore, and I think the best thing for us right now would be for you to leave. I think you should give up your seat. Bye, bitch. It's incredible to watch this man be owned in every conceivable way.
Kelly Nevins, you're up next.
That guy's just bye. See ya.
Behind Kelly, we have
love it. Love this energy.
Hugh Gracely, I believe, but Kelly Nevins.
Hello, can you hear me? All right, so I do want to say I would like to hear his answer, and I'll give you 2 topics. So I've worked in banking for 15 years.
You worked in what?
I've worked in banking for 15 years. I currently work for one of the top 10 banks in the country, and I have an opinion on tariffs, and so we can discuss that. And I also am half Japanese and have family members that were interned in the Japanese internment camps, and so I'd like for you to listen to my perspective on that as well. So I'll give you the choice which one you'd like to speak to.
I'll take either. I mean, I'm happy to do both. It's however you want to use your time.
Okay. So I'll start with my family's experience in the Japanese internment camps. I'm half Japanese, and truly, my entire life growing up, I've been mistaken for Hispanic. When people walk up to me and speak Spanish, I don't speak Spanish. So I honestly worry for my safety, my own safety. I work both in downtown Milwaukee and downtown Chicago regularly. And my family, my grandmother, my grandfather, my great aunt, my great uncle, and all of their families were U.S. citizens, and they were interned during World War II. They were detained in Japanese internment camps. My grandmother, who was an incredibly kind, loving woman who you would never know went through the trauma that she went through. She, in her last days of her life, I recall, was on working, having a hallucination, where she was screaming, "You're treating us like animals. How can you do this to us? We're Americans, we're people. How can you do this to us?" And she was reliving her experience, being taken from her home, and only being able to take the things that she could carry. And she was kept in a horse stall, a used horse stall, and she lived there for a month while the barracks were being built. And these barracks were just wood walls with like a potbelly stove to keep you warm. And she lived in Minidoka. My aunt, and to compare this to current events, the Alien Enemies Act that was used to deport the people to El Salvador was also used prior to the Japanese internment camps. And then President Trump said, "Homegrowns are next," when he was speaking to the El Salvadorian president. And he used that act just before that act was enacted just before the executive order to detain anybody who was at least 1/16 Japanese, which would include my own children who are blonde-haired, blue-eyed. And he's also trying to get rid of birthright citizenship. And again, it worries me, having known my family's history of being detained and having everything taken from them. My grandfather was a farmer who was put in the internment camps, and his farm was taken by the government for failure to pay back taxes because on this questionnaire, he put that he would not rescind his ties to Japan, even though he had never been to Japan. He was born here. And
Can I ask you to formulate your question just so we have time for other people? I appreciate the background that you're giving us.
My worry is that we are repeating history here.
Yep.
Very dark moments in our history that personally, my family, I've witnessed the trauma and the horrors that my family felt through their deathbeds. And I don't want anybody, immigrant or not, if they're not a criminal, being here illegally is a misdemeanor offense. Crossing our border illegally is a misdemeanor offense.
Yes. Yes.
My worry is, my question here is, I'm going to Chicago for work, and I'm out to happy hour, and I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, and some masked person without identification in plain clothes comes and tries to nab me because they're doing a raid, or even just a random person off the street who decided they're going to play ice for the day, decides to come grab me and throw me in a car because they think I'm Hispanic or an immigrant. I'm afraid for my own safety.
Yes.
Honestly, I'm really, really glad that people are out there asking these questions on camera, because there's nothing right now. There's no recourse. What happens if that occurs is they tell you, well, don't resist, even if it might be a stranger. What they tell you is don't resist. You know, we'll get it sorted out after the fact. But that could be days. It could be weeks. It could be never. They could disappear you into the system and never let you see the light of day again. And I want to, in the middle of this, I want to, there was something I wanted to talk about a couple days ago, and it just kind of got lost in the shuffle here. But I think it's really, really worth pointing out here, this piece in The Guardian. Immigration agents told a teenage U.S. citizen, "You have no rights," and he secretly recorded his brutal arrest. So Kenny Lainez Ambrosio, 18, thank you for your bravery, because dude recorded it. Video footage of the incident captured by Lainez Ambrosio, an 18-year-old U.S. citizen, appears to show a group of officers in tactical gear working together to violently detain the three men, two of whom are undocumented. They appear to use a stun gun on one man, put another in a chokehold, and can be heard telling Lainez Ambrosio, "You've got no rights here. You're amigo, brother." Afterward, agents can be heard bragging and making light of the arrests, calling the stun gun use funny and quipping, "You can smell that $30,000 bonus." Lainez Ambrosio hadn't intended to film the interaction. He already had his phone out to show his mom a silly TikTok, he said, but immediately clicked record when it became clear what was happening. The video begins after the van has been pulled over and the Border Patrol had arrived. A female officer can be heard asking in Spanish whether anyone is in the country illegally. One of Lainez Ambrosio's friends answers that he is undocumented. That's when they said, "Okay, let's go," Lainez Ambrosio recalled. Lainez Ambrosio said things turned aggressive before the group even had a chance to exit the van. One of the officers put his hand inside the window, he said, popped the door open, grabbed his friend by the neck, and had him in a chokehold. Footage appears to show the officers then reaching for Lainez Ambrosio and his other friend, as Lainez Ambrosio can be heard protesting, "You can't grab me like that." Multiple officers can be seen pulling the other man from the van and telling him to put your fucking head down. The footage captures the sound of a stun gun as Lainez Ambrosio's friend cries out in pain and drops to the ground. Lainez Ambrosio said his friend was not resisting and that he didn't speak English and didn't understand the officer's commands. "My friend didn't do anything before they grabbed him," he said. In the video, Lainez Ambrosio can be heard repeatedly telling his friend in Spanish to not resist. "I wasn't really worried about myself because I knew I was going to get out of the situation," he said, "but I was worried about him. I could speak up for him, but not fight back because I would have made the situation worse." Lainez Ambrosio can also be heard telling officers, "I was born and raised right here." Still, he was pushed to the ground and says that officers aimed a stun gun at him. He was subsequently arrested and held in a cell at Customs and Border Protection Station for 6 hours. Audio in the call catches the unidentified officers debriefing and appearing to make light of the stun gun use. "You're funny, bro," one officer can be overheard saying to another, followed by laughter. Another officer says, "They're starting to resist more now," to which another officer replies, "We're going to end up shooting some of them." Later in the footage, the officers move on to general celebration. "God damn! Woo! Nice!" And talk of the potential bonus they'll be getting. Just remember, you can smell that fucking, I'm going to assume the inaudible is fucking, $30,000 bonus. It's unclear what that bonus is. So when this lady asks, what happens if masked agents pull me aside? What happens if they pull guns on me? What happens if they, start trying to torture me for fun? What do I do? That is a valid question and a valid fear. And again, I need to reiterate, by the time this administration is over, we need to be having a tribunal to prosecute every single person in ICE. Every single person. Yeah, Holly Humst, one of the proposals going around right now is a $50,000 signing bonus for joining ICE. These people need to go to prison, these ICE agents. These people celebrating the brutalization of American citizens. Hell, even on the basis of celebrating the brutalization of undocumented immigrants, they should be prosecuted. But certainly against American citizens. Yeah, they also get student debt forgiveness. Like, fuck this. So when this lady asks, for her own safety, what do I do? It's a good question.
My children fear for losing our mother. And there are countless articles out there, American citizens that have been detained for months. Like,
Congressman, I think she would appreciate, please tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to put words here, but I think she would appreciate you also addressing this from the standpoint of Congress has the power to stop some of this stuff. And why aren't people in Congress working on legislation to overhaul the immigration system?
So first, thanks for sharing your familiar story. One of the more darker chapters of American history is U.S. citizens were detained. We may agree to disagree. I would offer that the Japanese internment was one of the darker chapters in American history, where U.S. citizens were interned for nothing other than their background. As we look at the engagement that law enforcement is doing now against individuals in the country illegally, I don't see the exact parallel that you're sharing. And the reason for that, let me just answer the question for the woman. And the importance here is making sure that we're enforcing U.S. laws. And so we may disagree about the severity of whether or not it's a misdemeanor to cross the border. To me, we should be enforcing our immigration laws. And so no individuals, no U.S. citizen should be removed. That's 100% correct. You reference whether or not an individual could impersonate a law enforcement officer. No individual should impersonate a law enforcement officer across the board, right? And so
Yeah, but people already are. People have been caught doing that already. Like, you can't just, well, they shouldn't do it. Well, they are. Specifically because it's downstream of the policy of masking ICE agents. It's directly downstream from that.
What I am supportive of, though, is enforcing our immigration laws. And we may just disagree in that in the room. But appreciate the question.
All right. We can only really give one question per person, just to spread the opportunity to people. We'd like to keep it to one question per person. Thank you very much. Next up, we have it's Hugh, and is it Gracely? Hugh.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bryan, thank you very much for the opportunity. Earlier today, you brought up the issue of Medicaid.
Yeah.
There's 70 million people in America on Medicaid. Everybody in this room knows someone on Medicaid.
Sure.
My question is, with 70 million people on Medicaid, why do you and some of your colleagues allow others of your colleagues to insult those people by suggesting that the majority of them are sitting at home in the evening and during the day playing video games? 67% of the people.
God, fuck, I love these people. God, I love these people. There are so many good people in this country, chat. There are so many good people willing to stand up and ask these questions. When people are like, you gotta go and work with folks like this, and I see them online turn their nose up at the idea of working with people like this guy who's like, wait a minute, that's just a lie. Like, you can work with somebody like this, folks. Radicalize people like this. Wait, what's the question? Dude is talking about the lie that the people who are being cut from Medicaid are just 35-year-olds who are in their mom's basement playing video games and reaping the luxurious benefits of being on Medicaid.
On Medicaid have jobs. 29% are either disabled They're taking care of elderly at home or they're in school. About 2%, according to your own figures, may be able to engage in productive work and are looking for work, the majority. So my question is very simple. What is your plan to cause the relatively small number of your colleagues who lie to the American public and malign the dignity of the 70 million people on Medicaid by suggesting that they are lazy game players? I'd like to know your plan.
He couldn't bring himself to say gamers because he's anti-gamer. I kid. Also, like, yeah, great point, Velvet. Some people on Medicaid are going to play video games sometimes because people play video games sometimes.
It's a great question because in many ways we've allowed our dialogue to denigrate. And so, so every individual is entitled to their right to free speech. We can see it in this room. Not lost on me. I don't control the speech of the 434 other members of the United States House of Representatives or the 100 United States Senators. I control my speech. And I would not engage in denigrating. Let the gentleman have a chance to dialogue here. That I would not engage in denigrating individuals that are on welfare programs.
Wait, but you already did. You did at the very beginning of this when you talked about how, oh, don't worry, guys, we're only going to kick off the gamers who are in the basements. You already did that. It's too late.
I'm not going to restrict other individuals' right to free speech, but I do share my opinion regularly. I'll let you follow up. Yeah, that's fine.
The follow-up then what is going to cause the House of Representatives to act in a more dignified and appropriate manner relative to the American public?
It's a great dialogue point because I don't love where a lot of our rhetoric and dialogue is. I think we should be, and I've done like maybe 35 or so town halls in the past 6 years, and many of my town halls are much easier to hear. Sometimes we don't even use microphones. It's a much more civil conversation. Tonight, unfortunately, has gotten a little more hostile, but the dialogue that we're seeing tonight is representative of the frustrations that exist in Washington, D.C. And there's people cheering on both sides. When we said border security, some people cheered, some people booed. It's okay to have differences of opinions, but this civil discourse that is a cornerstone of our democracy is challenged right now. It's challenged across the board. That's indicated by...
None of you guys, your guys are being too mean to me. How could you be so mean to me when I'm just telling you that look, if you get kicked off of Medicaid, it's because you've been playing too many video games. Did you play Grand Theft Auto 6? Huh? Sounds like you shouldn't be on Medicaid.
Bryan, this will be my last point on this issue.
Sir, we have to keep you to one question, please, just to allow
this will be my very last point.
Turned off his microphone.
Let him just finish.
That's the way the court
let him say his last thing. Just turn his mic. Just let him say his last thing. No, just go ahead. Let's say your last thing. I don't want to cut you off. We want to get through as many as we can. It's just like this.
I would just be interested in how you as an individual react when your colleagues do that, because I've never heard you object to them in public.
Super easy. That's a good follow-up, because I can say publicly, I don't support anybody denigrating anyone else. People have a right of free speech, but a lot of our discourse, writ large, is really challenged. It's challenged on all sides. And so I think we have a real opportunity to improve our discourse, and a little bit, I'd say the overwhelming majority of people here want to learn and understand my perspective, want to hear the question. And then there's a small group of people that are challenging and are booing and yelling at each other. The same.
Trust me, guys. If you're watching this recorded, it's only a small number of very loud people in here who are being mean to me. It's not like the entire crowd showed up to boo me. It's not like that at all. Please, hey, in fact, most of the crowd here loves me. He's corncobbing, absolutely.
Washington.
Well, also, we're only like halfway through this, and he's already like freaking out.
I share the frustration.
All right. Deborah, I believe it's Stahl from Racine, Deborah. Are you here?
Hey, the Zinger, that would be like saying if you've ever driven over the speed limit, you should be black bagged and sent to Guantanamo. You understand that, right? You understand that that's like a stupid ass thing to say? Well, maybe you shouldn't have broken the speed limit, huh? If you didn't want to get black bagged and sent to Guantanamo, you shouldn't have been speeding in your car. They're the exact same level of offense. Entering the United States without documentation and speeding in a car, the same level of offense. Hell, not even speeding a lot, like speeding 5 miles an hour over the speed limit type speeding. Come on now.
Great, Deborah. And then on deck, we will have Chris O'Brien from Kenosha.
What's my accent? I mean, my accent is usually just Midwest Minnesotan. Yeah, it's a misdemeanor. It's just getting a ticket.
Thank you for taking my question. My question is, we heard a lot of blame to the Biden administration about lack of rules for the immigration issue, but we have never, ever had a concentration camp in Florida. Could you address how we got to that point?
Yes! I wouldn't share your terminology, but I understand the facility you're discussing. And so what occurred was during the Biden administration was a massive influx of illegal immigrants into the United States. The woman deserves the right to be heard and have the conversation. So it's not that everybody needs to agree or disagree with the answer. You can restate. It's a little hard to hear. Go ahead.
That's not my question. We never
That's not my question, bitch.
We had due process for people who were here trying to get citizenship. We never had a concentration camp, and that happened on your watch.
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, okay? I'm trying to contain myself a little bit, but when I talk about go to your local Democratic meetings, I'm asking you to work with these people. These people understand what's happening. These people understand, like, oh, wait a minute. Hey, we weren't building concentration camps before you came along, you gangly limbed bitch. Like, they understand the energy. Go to your city council meeting. Like, go. At the very least, if you become disillusioned with that, you'll have, like, specific people in your community that you know to blame. It's time for all of us to start cooking in our own little spheres, okay? Getting a ticket is not a misdemeanor, it's just a violation. Okay, same thing.
The detainment facilities were built through multiple administrations. The Biden
same thing for crossing the border.
Administration, the Obama administration. Dodge County is one of the facilities in the state that does ICE detainers. And so these facilities have existed for decades. The biggest challenge that we saw, the biggest challenge that we've seen, is as the influx of illegal immigrants shifted from single males into familial units, that actually caused a lot of challenges in a lot of these facilities at the border. As the border numbers have come down, as we showed earlier in the slide, we've seen dramatic improvement in the number.
Then why do you need to put billions of dollars into building concentration camps across the United States, ding dong? Fuck you.
Illegal crossings of the U.S.-Mexico border. What we have seen now is additional people who have been...
Thank you, Lily Lovestuff, for the $5
I'm so
super
thankful
chat.
that you understand and speak about how we need to talk to people like this. Too many leftists, the terminally online kids, don't understand that and still shame people changing.
I mean, ultimately, if we're at all talking about organizing a large coalition, it has to include people like this. These people are the closest to us ideologically. They might not agree with us on everything, but we can work with that. We have to be able to work with that.
Engaged and been picked up here in the country illegally, who are in process of deportation, following due process under the law of the United States, that those individuals are being removed. They're going to be in facilities prior to removal. Why don't we keep going?
All right. Let me just follow up for her, Brian, in the case of we're building more detention centers. Could you explain? We're not building more detention centers?
Bryan Steil.
detention centers now than ever before. And the question is, I think for a lot of people, why did we feel the need to do that and corral these individuals that before we didn't feel the need to corral?
We're processing a lot more deportations now than we were prior. Also, the number of people in the country illegally is much greater following the Biden administration. And so the process of removal is faster. The other is the shift in the demographic of individuals who are coming across the border during the Biden administration. So got a little loud. It's true. And so what we saw was a traditionally, in particular at the U.S.-Mexico border, I've been there and spent time there under both administrations. What historically you saw was single males coming across the border. So when detentions would occur, you can obviously have single men in a single facility. Once you started seeing a large influx of familial units, the physical facilities weren't properly designed for familial units as they were coming in. And so what we've seen is a big shift in this regard, and that's part of it. The other is the increase in the throughput and the processing of individuals in the country illegally. It's okay that we disagree on the role of immigration policy. I'm just supportive of making sure that we're enforcing our immigration policy.
The problem is disagreeing on facts.
Ryan, who's been waiting, Chris, and Colin Gentz is up after Chris.
Thank you so much. This is the first time I've ever come to a political event, so
It's so cool to see. Look at these people. They're activating. It's so hard to get people to go out to their first event. Good job, guy.
Pretty raucous, pretty crazy. I didn't know what I was going to get into, but I applaud you for standing up here and taking it. Half of the country thinks one way, half of the country thinks another way. So no matter if you're up here or back here,
you're going to just, I apologize.
You can't hear me? Can I
It's just a lot of background noise.
All right. So anyway, I'm a business owner. I manufacture specialty coatings. We are struggling with, once China got caught for countervailing and dumping in the USA, they shifted the tactic and they're going up to Canada. I've been writing you and Johnson and everyone else saying, we need help. They are now shipping Chinese material. We can see it we can track it across the ocean. We can see it going to Canada, mainly Montreal. There's 3 or 4 manufacturers.
Dude, is this guy actually like serious right now? Never mind. I don't want these guys activated. This guy is complaining about the fact that like China's still shipping stuff to the United States. They're just shipping it to Canada first. Yeah, I wonder why they're doing that. Yeah.
They are selling it into the USA, claiming country of origin is Canada, when we know it's not Canada. Canada cannot make badge. There's only one manufacturer left in the United States that makes epichlorohydrin, that's Olin, and these guys are lying. And it's either it's either lying and putting the country of origin as Canada, which is a lie, or it's mob activity. They are selling epoxy for $25 a gallon. I can't make it for $25. I try to pay a good wage.
Yeah. Almost like there are larger and more equipped facilities in other places on the globe than what we can manufacture domestically.
Not a guy in my plant that makes less than $22.50 at a starting rate, and we try to get into $35 an hour. You can't live on less than that as a single person anywhere. So what's happening?
Then why do we have a minimum wage that's below that?
China's sending it to Canada for 86 cents a pound, and I keep barking. And one guy that I'm trying to assemble American and U.S. manufacturers of coatings, one guy said, "You're wasting your time, Chris." He said, "You're wasting your time because everyone's bought and paid for at the border. So we really need your help. It's killing our businesses."
Yeah, so
I don't know why it went dark.
You got 2 things there. One, I want to, before you leave, make sure I get your information because I want to follow the USTR on your behalf. But 2, let me. What you bring up is a really good point because countries are evading U.S. trade laws. And in particular, the biggest culprit is the one you named. It's China, which is where we started some of the trade conversation. And working with our allies, in this case Canada, to make sure that we're addressing abuses of trade from China is going to be absolutely essential. And so countries are doing this and moving it into Vietnam. In this case, it sounds like in your situation, they're moving it in to Canada. And so holding countries accountable for their trade practices is essential. for multiple administrations, the United States looked the other way because they viewed it as a benefit to get low-cost goods into the United States. So it's to the detriment of U.S. manufacturers and employees that work with you at your facility. And so what I'm of the belief is leveraging the trade policies, strike deals with our allies, then work with our allies to hold other countries accountable. And the biggest culprit is the one you identified, which is China. And the collective work with our allies to address the abuses of China is going to be essential. But as it relates to your specific issue, I want to get your contact, because I'd love to reach out to the U.S. Trade Representative on your behalf, which we'll do offline. But I appreciate the question. It's a huge, huge issue.
Thank you. Colin, yes. At least I think I had that right. Colin from Kenosha. Comment. Okay, good.
Maybe throw somebody on deck.
Who's on deck?
On deck would be Julie Richardson from Janesville.
So a lot has been said about the Biden administration and open borders and whatever, but can you actually name any of his policies or decisions that impacted open borders or economics? Because what we saw was him and Jerome Powell doing a record-breaking landing after COVID. We had great GDP, inflation was down. I mean, things were pretty great in America before Trump.
So
get his ass, son! Get his ass!
This is a really, really good question. Because if we go back a year, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not a border bill was needed. I was on radio shows with Tim Bremmel taking questions on the topic. And I always said you need to do 4 key things through executive action that would have real and meaningful impact on securing the U.S.-Mexico border. You reinstate stay in Mexico, you restart border wall construction, you end catch and release, and you stop abuse of the parole system. It was those 4 executive actions that I believe were going to be essential to re-securing the U.S.-Mexico border. No law was passed at the start of the year when we started to see a dramatic downtick in the number of illegal crossings. And what did President Biden do? President Trump do? President Trump comes in and on day 1 does 4 key executive actions. He restarts border wall construction, he reinstates stay in Mexico, he ends catch and release, and he ends abuse of the parole system. And by doing that, what we saw was a significant drop in the number of illegal crossings. And so I just firmly was frustrated with what the Biden administration was doing in the border. That's totally true. And I've spoken aggressively on it. Because it has, we're all going to get a back and forth here, but let me. So the policies, maybe I'll just close it here then. So the policies that I think are your top 4, restart border wall construction, end catch and release, reinstate stay in Mexico, and end abuse of the parole system. All 4 Biden chose not to do, all 4 Trump chose to do. The border is now much more secure than it was before due to those 4 policies. Great question. Thank you.
Julie Richardson over there, and on deck we have, well, from Milton. It's a little tough for me to read the handwriting. Let me get it interpreted while Julie asks her question.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Thank you for hosting the town hall. We've been asking for one for a while, so I'm glad you're here. My original question was about ICE and the funding of ICE, but I think we've definitely covered that. So my question to you is, can you explain to us why you support Linda McMahon and the defunding of the Department of Education?
Great question. So again, going back, there was a question earlier as it related to cancer research, so a little bit is going to be the same answer, but let me dive a little bit deeper on the Department of Education. We're currently going through the process of analyzing what the spending will be for the upcoming fiscal year. So the current fiscal year that we're operating in right now, today, again, is the spending levels that were set during the Biden administration with Republicans in the House. And so going forward, though, is your question on some of these proposals. I'm of the view that education is best resolved at the local level. And so what we've allowed to occur, what we've allowed to occur is more and more funds flowing through the federal government down to the state level. And so what I'm of the view is as those funds have flown down, what we've done is burdened a lot of our local school districts with unnecessary red tape. That's my view. And so I think what we will see as we negotiate this going forward is a way to make sure that those funds are there at the local level, which we care about, but removing a lot of that bureaucratic red tape that's in the way in a period of time where we need to look at the operations of our local schools and making sure that in particular, foremost in my mind, is making sure that the educational product we have is tied in directly to our workforce needs. And I think the one-size-fits-all approach that we often see coming out of Washington is not helpful in that regard. So as we go through this next funding process, again, while we're $1.8 trillion in deficit year over year, we're looking at all of these types of programs to make sure that we're removing bureaucracy at the federal government level.
What a little Weasley fuck. What a little weasel. We have to remove the bureaucracy that's making your schools worse? Question mark?
All right. Thank you. Vivian Creekmore is the name from Milton. Vivian. And on deck we have Sharna Aaron.
Go ahead.
I'm Vivian Creekmore from Milton. I actually live right outside your hometown.
Oh, what a delightful lady.
I used to see your predecessor around town a lot. I have never seen you anywhere. And I want to confirm that you are correct. I'm not here to listen to you, and many of us aren't, because we know what you're going to say ahead of time. I would also
What a sweetheart. Really embracing the kill him with kindness mentality. Love to see it.
I'd like to remind you that you're a pretty rich boy who has never missed a meal, always had a nice place to live,
Yes.
had great jobs, made a lot of money, and I can't relate to that. You know, that's not a part of my life. You talked a lot and said not very much. Alcatraz is a concentration camp. The difference between a prison or detention facility and a concentration camp is due process. We have criminals roaming our streets, and large percentages of the people that they pick up and detain are mistaken identities, have committed no crimes, or are here legally. They are sent to those camps without ever having the ability. That's my question.
She's spitting.
Why do you support that? And then, more specifically, the cost of it. Alligator Alcatraz will cost $450 million annually. Do you own any stock in the contractor companies? Because they are making a killing.
She's spitting so hard. God damn. Look, if Gamergy can isolate the yes guy, like absolutely we can get it on the soundboard.
Immigration detention is big business. And I also wonder if you're looking for various money market schemes, looking at that, because you talk a lot about
Crypto!
Not the adorable dog.
I want to give you one piece of advice, because I've spent a lot of time working with people and facilitating groups and communication. You would be well served to not blame another thing on Joe Biden.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Joe Biden gone. He gone. What are you doing?
People come up one by one and say what they want to. We would have a higher opinion of you if you did that.
I like her.
All right, Sharna, is it? Sharna Aaron? From Fontana?
There's a question I'm happy to answer.
Hello.
It's most of the speech. It's all publicly, I have all of it in funds now. It's all publicly available on my website. No. You go, it's all publicly available on my website. No, I don't think we should members to do.
Hi, Representative Steil. First of all, I want to thank you for answering all the contacts that I've made with you over the years. Either you or your staff have responded in a very timely manner. I may not agree with you. I may not agree with you on the issues, but I appreciate that you respond to my voice. So thank you.
I appreciate it. We've gotten, just in context, we've received about 100,000 outreaches so far this year. And I make it a priority to try to get back to everyone. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, but we make it a priority to try to get back to absolutely everyone that reaches out to. I appreciate it.
Really, Bryan?
I just would also like to make a comment to the audience. I think it's very important to have a sense of decorum, to have respect. We want this country to come together. And unless
Why can't you guys come together with the fascists? I don't understand. They want to build a concentration camp in your backyard, but why can't you work with them on that? Maybe make it, instead of a concentration camp, just a normal camp. I don't understand. Maybe they could have a good time there. Like, just some naive bullshit.
we have some civil discourse, unless we can get together and respect what everybody says, we're not going to get there.
Respect my ass.
Hold on. I have serious concerns about a lot of the issues that have been brought up today. I have concerns about dismantling the Department of Education.
Oh.
I have concerns about how our migrants and immigrants are being treated. I have concern about the rule of law and the civil rights that are being impacted by this administration. And some of the questions, I prepared questions today. I have 8 questions. Some of them have been answered, and I'll be glad to share these with you at the end. But the one thing that I would like to talk about, which I think most of us can agree upon, is our environment. Our environment is fragile. Climate change is real, based on scientific evidence.
Well, this went in a different direction than I thought it was going.
Whether one admits it or not, it is real. Extreme weather conditions are happening more frequently as we experience them or read about them. The EPA is deregulating the standards that are in place to fight climate change and to protect the citizens. Where do you stand on this issue? And how can you be an advocate for us to initiate legislation to restore our safeguards?
First off, I appreciate the structure of your question. It's okay that we can disagree, but we can do so productively. So I appreciate your comment in that regard. I'm in the belief that one of the reasons we love to call Wisconsin home is because we live in, I think, one of the most beautiful states in the country. And making sure that we're protecting our air and water and soil.
This is going to blow out our eardrums as soon as the noise, as soon as the volume equalizes, but that's fine.
The gentlewoman's entitled to hear the answer. And so what we need to be doing is focused in on addressing that from a global perspective. Again, making sure other countries are doing their fair share in this. And so when we get into aspects, the gentlewoman's allowed to, just allow her to hear the portion. You don't have to agree, just allow her to hear the answer. So as yelled out, the Paris Accords, because that's an important topic. I don't think the Paris Accords properly held countries like China and India properly accountable for what's going on. And so what I think we need to do is make sure that we're not punishing U.S. employees of businesses that are engaged in economic activity here in southeast Wisconsin, which is heavily manufacturing based, and we're actually holding countries like China and India accountable. Then you have other aspects of this where you would walk outside today and you have one of the most unhealthy air quality conditions that we've seen. That's coming down from
There we
Canada.
go.
So making sure.
Nope. Okay, the audio, it's way too loud now.
The gentleman's allowed to hear. Allow her to hear the answer. You don't have to agree with the answer, but allow her to hear the answer. That was the point of the question.
Open your heart.
So as we look at the air quality right now, we know it's in large part due to Canadian wildfires. And so this is a broader conversation than punishing U.S. employers to the detriment of U.S. workers. And we need to have a global perspective of holding other countries accountable. Thanks for the question, and sorry it's a little hard to hear.
Let me follow up on her behalf for just one moment. So in the last little bit, the president has announced a lot of executive orders to roll back climate protections that the Biden administration had in place.
Oh my God.
We're rolling back EPA standards on automobiles, we're rolling back all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the rollbacks versus the progress that were made? I think is a lot of people would like to know.
So what I think we saw, and where I disagree with some of what I viewed as the overreach in the previous administration, is what we were seeing. A lot of the answers.
Maybe they don't want to know.
What we saw was higher prices for American consumers and a real draconian impact by U.S. citizens, U.S. U.S. consumers. And so what we need to do is have a broader global approach in this regard. And then in other areas, what we saw was the previous administration truly picking winners and losers. So I didn't like the $7,500 tax credit for a new electric vehicle. Other people like that. But if you want to buy, I don't have a problem with electric cars. So if somebody wants to go buy a brand new Tesla, there's nothing wrong with buying a brand new electric car. Go ahead. I just don't think that we should be using your hardworking taxpayer dollars to subsidize someone's choice. It's a broader philosophical disagreement. Thank you.
All right, we have Karen Fulbright Anderson up next, and behind her we have Barbara Isaacson.
Thank you. Oh, you got it? Oh, I don't have to hold it. Okay. So my question for you is...
It's coming up.
Is when are you going to take as good of care of your constituents who are not uber wealthy as you do of the ones who are wealthy? And let me be more specific. So we have this big bill, by all accounts, and I've been looking at different independent, nonpartisan analysis of the bill as well as reading it myself, and it appears that people who are earning $200,000 and less are going to pay more in taxes. People who are making $1 million and more are going to be paying, getting big tax cuts. You know, the policies around Medicare, there are going to be people who are deserving of Medicare are going to be kicked off of Medicare because of some of these provisions that are going. That's going to happen. Those are some of the analyses. But there is no discussion about the health care executives who have been fraudulent.
God, the audio's all over the place right now. This lady's spitting though.
Taking money from Medicare. Why is there no discussion about that? At least 5 or 6 or several of whom President Trump has pardoned. And these people owe billions.
Why do people who are uninterested in helping their community run? Because they're interested in helping themselves. They're interested in helping themselves, and by extension, they're interested in helping the wealthy and the powerful.
Billions of dollars that they fraudulently stolen from Medicare and Medicaid. The other thing is you enabled Elon Musk through Dodge to when he was under investigation by at least 33 different agencies for fraudulent behavior, for other kinds of violations that he committed. All of those investigations have gone away, and yet he's walked away with all of our personal information, which none of us in this room, I'm sure, gave him permission to take our personal information and use it however he wants. The other thing is the administration has fired most of the IRS inspectors who have been investigating fraudulent behavior among wealthy people and corporations. And also shutting down the divisions in the IRS that whose job it was to investigate those people. So again, these people are getting off with this. And now we're hearing that $600 million are going to be taken from FEMA and given to build these camps holding immigrants, many of whom are not criminals, as what we were told would be put into these camps. And then the last thing I'll say is about and I could go on, but I'll wrap it up because I know other people want to ask questions, but we also have heard conversations about wanting to privatize Social Security, which would be putting more money in the hands of private money market managers. But there's no discussion about raising the cap on the $168,000 cap on people's claims. So what I want to know is, what are you going to do about these kinds of things? There's no look at fraudulent behavior among ultra wealthy people, but yet you're, putting all this emphasis on all these people on Medicaid and such who are supposedly gaming the system. So that's my question.
Is it safe to summarize your question more?
Zip it.
What are we doing with the have-nots? What are we doing to support the have-nots? Because it seems like there's enough support for the haves. The people that need these programs are not
Reserve seats.
Sure.
But we didn't come to you
I'm
here.
trying to generalize it so he doesn't have to give you a half-hour answer.
I hear you. So in part, I would disagree with the way you framed it. And so as I look at the tax provisions in the bill, what was in large part done was keeping the 2017 tax reforms in place. That's the bulk of the bill. Then on top of that,
and making the tax cuts for the rich permanent.
Built into three key areas: providing additional tax deductions for senior, effectively making Social Security tax-free. Then what we did is we added in tax benefits for middle income workers, $75,000 and below, as it relates to overtime and as it relates to taxes on tips. And so
you need to raise taxes. Stop it.
Hey, let the gentleman speak. Say it again.
Gentlemen.
So in there are sunset provisions on some of these, not on others.
Oh, they actually brought it up. They actually brought up the thing I just brought up. Good job.
So the 2017 tax cuts were made permanent. So the 2017 reforms were made permanent. We built on top of that additional tax cuts focused in on hardworking families that we will have an opportunity to continue to move forward down the road so that those taxes don't rise. So there's sunset provisions in some. You're exactly right. There's not sunset provisions in others. I would work to maintain and keep those tax cuts into the future. And it's something that Congress is going to be working on going forward. Any given Congress could pass a tax law one way or the other. So while they're permanent, saying, here is the steady state if no further action is taken. And so we took the 2017 tax bill and overall made those reforms permanent. And then we added on to that additional tax savings.
When are you going to balance the budget, Brian?
And built onto that additional tax reforms for hardworking families. And so it's going to be something that we'll continue on in this conversation. I think it'll actually be quite beneficial to a lot of hardworking families in the U.S. The other data point that I would give to that is to go back and to look at some of the empirical data off of those 2017 tax reforms. Those 2017 reforms, what we really saw going into the pandemic was real wages rising. And in particular for lower income workers. And the reason for that is we had a lot of people in those groups that actually had the biggest room for growth. And so we saw real wages rising faster than the whole for women, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, veterans. And that is positive, that is the reforms that are made permanent.
How do any of you sleep at night?
But I'm saying going into the pandemic.
I love the camera lady. What a heroine.
So prior to that, I would luxury shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Going into the pandemic, we did see that economic growth and real wages rising. So we came back out of the pandemic. Part of the reason that we were able to continue on was the reforms that were in place from 2017. That's the bulk of what's made permanent, and then which is the steady state. And then we built on that for hardworking families. So I just disagree on your analysis, but I appreciate the question.
Thank you for the question.
Right. Okay, we're coming up on the home stretch before we got to be out of the school, but let's keep going.
All right, is this Barbara?
Hello. I've lived in Wisconsin all my life. I've received your newsletter. As you can see, people have many concerns about what's happening in Congress. Zip codes not being a major concern. I see all of these things, and I'm wondering, we elected you not your predecessor, not previous administrations. We elected you. And I would like to have 2 examples where you have voted on an issue representing Wisconsin and against the majority rule of the Republicans, where you stood up and did not just vote. I'm a Republican, yes. I want to know 2 examples where you voted your ethics. And I also want to say I have written to you several times and I have never gotten a response.
Yes! Yes! Yes, Bryan! Yes, Bryan! Yes, sir!
Thanks for the question. Like I said, we're not perfect. I try to get back to everybody. We've done about 100,000, so I want to make sure I get your name and number. We'll track down why you might not. I work on big things and little things at the same time. And so the reference on the zip codes, that's a big deal to some people. That does not have the transformational change. That's not the big stuff. It doesn't get news. And so sometimes I use my newsletter to try to provide information to people about things other than just what is in news of the day. That's a big deal in some communities in our district, maybe not yours. But then if you said, then to your point, right, give an example, I go back and look at a sanctions vote against Russian oligarchs, where I voted against the...
What about American oligarchs?
You're tough. You're tough. There are a number of times where I don't always line up. There's a certain...
But six Trump. You couldn't answer 2 things.
What do you have to say about that, Bryan Steil?
I have to say, shut up.
2 million people! Do you have a heart? Do you have a heart? Show us your heart.
That is 100% a goddamn hero right there. Let's fucking go.
Do we want another question?
Heart.
Yeah, let's do another. I know we're coming up on...
Peter Gilbert from Racine. Peter. I'm looking to the staff here. Peter Gilbert, are you here?
Maybe we can walk back to Peter.
Or we can go to you, Peter. Yeah,
we'll go to you. Don't get up.
Nancy Frank on deck.
Yeah, I came all the way from the scene. I moved in April. And I want to thank you for doing all you're doing. There's a lot
That would be
of
good.
And I know what's going on. And I wanted to ask you, going back to the EPA, I had such a bad time with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation with this ridiculous emissions testing. They said it was a secret testing garage, and they sent me an estimate of $7,800 to fix a catalytic reverse and a tailpipe. And
They want me to not poison the planet. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? They don't want me poisoning the planet no more, Bryan. They don't want me poisoning. They think it's gonna get too hot. They don't want me poisoning the planet no more. What do you have to say about that, Bryan? Bryan, why can't I be allowed to poison them just a little bit? I just want to be able to poison some of the members of the community, Bryan. What if I concentrated all that poison and gave it to one person? What if I just put it all together and gave it to one person, Bryan? What if I could pay them to like just ingest that, Bryan, and then it's all good, right? Hey, whomst among us wouldn't want to give 10 years of her life, huh? For me to make a little bit extra money. Come on, Bryan.
because many people can't afford these repairs. I I got it done privately, and I went to the FBI in St. Francis, and they said, why are you here? And I'm reporting extortion and racketeering. And I showed them the receipt, and they said, who's doing
Let the
this?
gentleman finish his question.
I said, it's the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. Then I took the initiative and called the EPA in Chicago. Even the EPA said they were going overboard. So I hope Lee Zeldin gets rid of this stupid test.
I hope he gets rid of that stupid test and lets me poison all of you. All of you. I see how way you look at me. Like I'm some kind of outsider when I walk down Main Street. I see the way you look at me and I hiss back at you. But pretty soon he's going to get rid of that test and I'll be able to poison every single one of you.
Peter, you bring up a great point. This goes back to something.
You bring up a great point. I really think that we need to fight for your individual right to be able to poison your local community, okay? We need to be able to ensure that you can go out there every day and dump your raw sewage and various poisons into the local water supply. That is your God-given right as an American and as a Republican.
Conversation we had about a lot of the environmental rules and regulations. They have a real significant impact on all sorts of people in Wisconsin, and we have to ask ourselves and run a cost-benefit analysis. Is the cost...
We have to run a cost-benefit analysis on the technology that's poisoning the earth. You know, maybe we could just poison the earth a bit. Maybe that'd be fine.
Applied to a lot of these tests, are they actually generating the benefit that they purport to? And I think what we have seen is often that the benefit does not justify the cost. And so as we look at a lot of the broader environmental, in particular as it relates to air, let Peter get an answer. He's waited like everybody else. But Peter, one of my concerns is that what we're doing is putting in place regulations that don't actually have the net benefit that they are purporting to, and then bringing these policies and regulations in line so that people can afford the things in their family that they need, where many people have been negatively impacted by the costs that are required by some of these rules and regulations. In particular, we have some attainment zone issues as it relates to the broader Milwaukee region right now being applied by the EPA that could have really draconian impact on jobs in the Milwaukee area.
Yeah, specifically the poisoning jobs. Have you guys noticed that since the EPA was implemented, there have been fewer job openings for poisoning your local community? Seems really crazy, right? Like, why can't an enterprising young man, go out into the world and poison some people for money? Why is that just no longer a thing? I don't understand. And under Donald Trump, we're going to bring back the poisoning jobs. Why? When was the last time you heard of a local arsenicer? I bet you never have. Well, guess what? We're going to bring them back. We're also going to bring back the asbestos mongers. Well, I mean, why can't a young enterprising man go out into the world and sell some asbestos? We should be able to do that.
Good question.
All right, we're a little bit over.
We will make the cyanide tooth industry great again.
Fun fact: Bryan is a ventriloquist. It may look like he is talking from his mouth, but he is speaking from his asterisk.
Jess, thank you for the $5 dono.
I'm told we can take one more. So Nancy Frank from Elkhorn.
Bring us home.
God.
Nancy.
I'll be very quick. I want to have you address the question that was shouted about the starving children.
Fuck yeah. Ask him about the millions of starving children. Let's go. Also, let's all take a moment to recognize that the question about kids in Gaza is getting a room full of cheers. And these are not lefties, guys. These are not like lefty-ass socialists, okay? These guys are liberal as hell. It is nice to see that though the leadership of the Democratic Party is hopelessly out of touch, these people have some idea what they're about.
But also the hungry children in Wisconsin due to SNAP. Yeah!
Oh, fuck yeah. Tie the issues together.
So there's two questions there. I can do them both, and I'll do them in reverse order for you, so I'll work backwards. So the SNAP...
In the 1960s, we had a silver spring. Well, Donald Trump is going to bring you a golden spring by deregulating DDT. We're making groundwater great again.
Paladin, thank you for the $5 dono.
Benefits where there's a lot of inaccurate information as to what happened. What we did as it relates to SNAP, which is Supplemental Assistance Program, some people call it food stamps. What we did in that program was applied more or less work requirements that almost mirror the work requirements that are already in place in the state of Wisconsin. And again, that's for able-bodied adults that don't have young children. So Wisconsin put in place work requirements in the welfare program in the 1990s. The federal government's work requirements that are now applied are actually reasonably similar to what is currently in existence in Wisconsin. Other states run their programs very poorly. Wisconsin has an error rate, for example, of a little less than 5%, meaning if you're giving out these benefits, an individual may receive the wrong amount of money on their card. Wisconsin, that error rate is less than 5%. Other states are 10% or above. And so what we're really going to see if we implement this correctly in other states around the country is actually many other states coming to the Wisconsin standard. So you're not going to see the reduction in some of the fear-mongering that's been out there as it relates to the state of Wisconsin. I think what you're actually going to see is a program strengthened for those that it was designed for. Your second question, which was your first question, so because it's yelled out, it's worth noting that would only be if Wisconsin's error rate dramatically increased. Wisconsin's error rate, again, is below the 6% threshold where there would be an alteration in the flow of funds. So Wisconsin's error rate is currently below 5%. On the whole, Wisconsin runs our program better than other states. That's something we should all be proud of. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It means we're running our programs much better than other states. And the bulk of this law is trying to get other states to get their programs to run much more like the state of Wisconsin in a much more effective and productive manner. To the first question that you asked, which relates to the challenges that we've seen between Hamas and Israel. To me, the easy answer to address this crisis is for Hamas
is to feed the children. The easy answer is to let aid in and feed the children. Any other answer is just saying it's totally fine to starve your enemy to the point where children are dying. Any other answer is just saying you are complicit with starving children.
Hamas to surrender and release the hostages.
What a cowardly fuck.
Israel was unfairly, unjustly attacked. Their civilians were killed and kidnapped by Hamas terrorists.
I wish these people had been able to see the testimony of that guy, that former Green Beret, because it would have been really, really lovely for them to be able to, like, what do you have to say about this man who went there to feed kids and watch them get shot in front of his eyes, their faces still wet with the tears of gratitude they had when he gave them food. I want them to ask in detail about instances like that.
Israel.
Again, can we please let her hear her answer?
Israel has a right to defend itself.
Israel has a right to starve children until they die. Apparently that's defensive. Some defensive enforced starvation, I see.
Please let her hear her answer.
I never knew
The gentlewoman has a right to hear the answer.
It's genocide. You believe in genocide? Genocide.
Resign now. Help us all.
Do something about it.
We may disagree on this, that's fine.
Resign. Shut up.
Resign.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming tonight.
So
we're going to close it off here because there's no point in continuing.
Let me leave it like this. I just, as it relates to your question, I'm of the view that Israel has a right to defend itself, and the easy and simplest way to end this horrific war is for Hamas to surrender and release their hostages. I appreciate everybody coming out today. Doesn't mean that everyone...
I want them... Well, I can't say that. I want them to just point at him and chant genocide. Like, I just want them to, like... Or like, chant resign. Like, man, dog, this is bleak for him.
Genocide! Feed the kids! Feed the kids! Feed!
Horrible! Man, that guy who's chanting "Feed the kids," what a goddamn hero. What a hero. Resign, Bryan! Get out of here, Bryan!
Loved your Rodney Dangerfield impression earlier mocking the congressman.
Super Jet Guy, thank you for the $5 dono. I really appreciate it. That was really cathartic. I appreciated that. God, I want so much more movement on this. I want these people to be sprinting out of these high schools, heading for the hills. You know, these Republican congressmen should not feel like comfortable in their amongst their constituents. That guy is like going around talking about how it's okay to starve children. He's going around talking about how it's okay to kick millions of people off of Medicaid and SNAP. He's going around talking about how it's actually great to give a massive handout to the wealthiest people in the country while, massively blowing up the deficit. They're so full of shit. I hope that did your heart some good. I know it did mine a bit. God.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
Indeed.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather around. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, being plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.